Hello and welcome to IAMC Radio and Podcast. We've got a packed show for you today as we explore the top news headlines for January 20th, from international legal battles to social shifts and even some tech drama.
Right.
It's a whirlwind of events that really capture the pulse of our world right now.
Yeah, what's particularly interesting is how these seemingly disparate stories actually connect to reveal some of the larger forces at play.
Absolutely. So let's jump right in. Our first story takes us to China, where a man named Fan Weiku was executed just weeks after being sentenced to death for a horrific crime. He drove his car into a crowd at a sports center.
Oh, wow.
Killing 35 people, his motive? Apparently revenge over a divorce settlement.
That's terrible. This case has sparked international attention because it shines a light on China's use of the death penalty, which remains a controversial issue. Amnesty International, a prominent human rights organization, has labeled China the world's top executioner.
Wow.
Due to the sheer number of executions carried out each year and the lack of transparency surrounding the process.
And what's even more striking is the reaction on Chinese social media, where there seems to be overwhelming public support for the execution.
Interesting.
It really highlights the cultural differences in how societies view justice and punishment.
It certainly does in China. The emphasis is often on swift and severe punishment as a deterrent. This case was seen as particularly egregious, given the number of victims and the seemingly callous nature of the crime.
And it wasn't an isolated incident just recently. Another man, Xu Jijin, was also executed for stabbing 8 people to death on a college campus.
Oh my God.
His motives appear to be linked to academic pressure and dissatisfaction with his internship pay, which raises broader questions about the societal pressures young people face.
Yeah, both cases underscore the complex interplay of individual motivation, societal pressures, and the role of the justice system in addressing such tragic events.
Now let's shift gears to Nigeria, where a prominent human rights lawyer, Inabehe Effiong, has become a vocal critic of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, or EFCC.
What makes this particularly noteworthy is that Effiong was once a staunch defender of the EFCC. He even challenged court injunctions against them and filed lawsuits on their behalf. His disillusionment seems to stem from concerns about corruption, nepotism, and unprofessional conduct within the organization itself.
He's argued that these issues actually undermine the EFCC's efforts to combat financial crime and erode public trust. His criticism became even more pointed after a recent incident, where an EFCC officer was killed during a raid, which sparked controversy and raised questions about the agency's methods.
Effiong's shift in stance highlights the importance of accountability and transparency even within organizations tasked with upholding the law. It also raises questions about how to effectively combat corruption without compromising on ethical principles.
On a more positive note, Nigeria is also making headlines for its new General Multi-Purpose National Identity Card, or GMPC. This initiative aims to streamline identification for citizens by consolidating multiple existing cards.
This move is expected to simplify access to financial and government services. The GMPC is the result of a collaboration between the National Identity Management Commission, the NIMC, the Central Bank of Nigeria, and the Nigeria Interbank Settlement System. It signifies a push towards greater efficiency and digitalization.
And there's a fascinating detail here. The GMPC will utilize the Afrigo card scheme, a domestic payment system. This is a significant step towards promoting local financial infrastructure and reducing reliance on international systems.
Exactly. It's a move that could potentially bolster Nigeria's economic independence and give the country greater control over its financial systems.
Now, for a story that has the entertainment world buzzing, Sean Diddy Combs is facing allegations of involvement in Tupac Shakur's murder.
What?
These allegations have surfaced from a 2009 interview with Dwayne Keefe D. Davis, who is currently awaiting trial for Tupac's murder. In the interview, Keefe D claims Diddy offered millions for the murders of both Tupac and Death Row Records boss Suge Knight.
It's important to emphasize that Diddy has vehemently denied any involvement in these crimes, and he has not been charged. However, these allegations have resurfaced at a particularly sensitive time for Diddy, as he's currently in prison facing unrelated charges of human trafficking and racketeering, which is a serious crime involving organized illegal activities.
This revelation adds another layer of complexity to a case that has captivated public attention for decades. It raises questions about the credibility of Keefe D's claims, the potential motives involved, and the lasting impact of this unsolved crime on the music industry and beyond.
It also shines a light on the shadowy world of the music business, where power, money, and rivalry often intertwined in dangerous ways. Whether these allegations will ever be proven remains to be seen, but they certainly add fuel to an already fiery debate.
And speaking of legal battles, let's turn our attention to Dieziani Allison-Madueke, the former Nigerian Minister of Petroleum Resources. She's denying ownership of a $52.8 million loot recently repatriated from the U.S. to Nigeria. Allison-Madueke claims that the funds actually belong to Nigerian oil magnate Kola Aluko and were generated from the sale of a vessel that was seized by the U.S. government. She's accused those linking her to the money of false reporting and character assassination. This case underscores the challenges of tracing illicit financial flows and the complexities of holding powerful individuals accountable for alleged corruption. It's a story that highlights the ongoing fight against corruption in Nigeria and the intricate web of financial transactions that can often obscure the truth. The outcome of this legal battle could have significant implications for both Allison-Madueke and the broader efforts to recover stolen assets.
It also raises questions about the role of international cooperation in combating financial crime and the importance of due process in ensuring a fair and impartial legal system.
Now let's shift our focus to a different kind of power struggle, this time within the Taliban in Afghanistan. There's growing dissent within the group over the ban on girls' high school education, a policy that has drawn international condemnation.
Right.
Shir Mohammad Abbas Seneksa, the Taliban's acting deputy foreign minister, has publicly called for the leadership to lift the ban, arguing that it violates Islamic Sharia law. His statement, "Today, out of a population of 40 million, we are committing injustice against 20 million people," has resonated.
Wow.
Both within Afghanistan and on the global stage.
This internal dissent adds another layer of complexity to the situation in Afghanistan. It highlights the challenges the Taliban faces in consolidating its power, balancing its ideology with the demands of governance, and gaining international recognition.
It also reflects the ongoing struggle for women's rights in Afghanistan, where progress has been made in recent decades, but remains fragile under the Taliban's rule. The outcome of this internal debate within the Taliban could have significant implications for the future of education, women's rights, and the country's relationship with the international community.
Now back to the U.S., where President-elect Donald Trump has made a surprising move. He's delayed a U.S. ban on TikTok, the popular social media app, just hours before it was set to take effect. Interesting. To understand this, we need to go back a bit. This ban was part of a law that required TikTok's Chinese parent company ByteDance to sell the app to address national security concerns. The Trump administration had argued that TikTok posed a risk to U.S. user data and could potentially be used for espionage, however, just hours before the ban was to be implemented. Trump announced a delay, citing ongoing negotiations and the potential for a deal.
Adding to the intrigue, TikTok CEO Shouzi Chu was spotted at Trump's victory rally. Further fueling speculation about a possible agreement, this situation highlights the complex intersection of technology, national security, and international relations.
It also raises questions about the balance between protecting national security and preserving freedom of expression in the digital age. The TikTok saga is far from over, and its resolution could set a precedent for how governments regulate social media platforms and address data privacy concerns in the future.
And speaking of Trump, he's returning to the White House for his second term and is promising swift action on a number of controversial issues.
On immigration, Trump has pledged to declare a border emergency, reinstate the Remain in Mexico policy, and launch a large-scale deportation effort. These moves are likely to be met with legal challenges and protests from immigrant rights groups.
He's also vowed to ban transgender athletes from women's sports, a move that has sparked intense debate about fairness, inclusion, and the rights of transgender individuals. This is just one example of the socially divisive issues that Trump is likely to tackle in his second term.
His other campaign promises include repealing Biden's executive orders, building a missile defense shield, and releasing classified documents related to high-profile assassinations. It's clear that Trump's return to power will usher in a period of significant change both domestically and internationally. Host Speaker. It's fascinating to see how these seemingly isolated events are actually interconnected, reflecting broader trends and tensions shaping our world.
Exactly. It's like piecing together a puzzle. Each story offers a glimpse into a larger picture. So what are some of the key themes emerging from these headlines?
Well, one prominent theme is the struggle for power.
Okay. We see it in China's authoritarian approach to maintaining order, in Nigeria's efforts to strengthen its institutions and assert its economic independence, in the legal battles involving individuals like Diddy and Dieziani Allison-Madueke, and, of course, in the resurgence of Donald Trump on the global stage.
It seems like power dynamics are shifting on multiple levels, from individual power struggles to geopolitical maneuvering and the battle for control in the digital realm.
Absolutely. And another recurring theme is the tension between tradition and change.
Okay.
The Taliban's internal conflict over girls' education is a stark example of this, as is the debate over transgender athletes and women's sports. These issues highlight the challenges societies face in navigating evolving social norms and reconciling them with deeply held beliefs.
It's a reminder that progress isn't always linear. There are often pushbacks and setbacks along the way, and it seems like technology is playing an increasingly influential role in shaping these dynamics. Without a doubt, the Tik Tok saga is a prime example of how technology can become entangled in geopolitical rivalries and raise complex questions about data privacy, national security, and freedom of expression. It's a debate that will only intensify as technology continues to advance at an unprecedented pace.
So, in this rapidly changing world, how do we make sense of it all? What are some takeaways for our listeners who are trying to navigate these complex issues?
I think the first step is to cultivate critical thinking skills.
Okay.
Don't just accept information at face value. Question your sources, consider multiple perspectives, and be wary of biases, both your own and those of others.
It's about developing a healthy skepticism and being willing to challenge assumptions, even our own.
Exactly, and it's equally important to seek out diverse sources of information.
Right.
Don't confine yourself to an echo chamber, engage with viewpoints that challenge your own. It's through these intellectual collisions that we can refine our understanding and develop more nuanced perspectives.
It's also about recognizing that the world is full of contradictions and complexities. There are rarely easy answers or simple solutions.
Right.
It's a messy, ever-evolving tapestry, and that's part of what makes it so fascinating.
I couldn't agree more, and amidst all this complexity, it's crucial to remember that we as individuals have agency.
Yeah.
We can make choices, raise our voices, and contribute to shaping the world we want to live in, whether it's through engaging in constructive dialogue, supporting causes we believe in, or simply staying informed and engaged. We all have a role to play.
It's empowering to remember that we're not just passive observers. We have the power to influence the course of events, even in small ways. So as we conclude our exploration of these top news headlines, what are some final thoughts you'd like to leave our listeners with?
I would encourage everyone to approach these stories with a sense of curiosity, critical thinking, and a willingness to engage in meaningful conversations. The world is full of challenges, but it's also brimming with opportunities for growth, learning, and positive change. Let's embrace both the complexity and the possibility that lie ahead.
It's been quite a journey exploring these headlines with you.
It really has. We've covered a lot of ground, from China's approach to criminal justice, to the complexities of corruption in Nigeria, from the drama surrounding Diddy to the ongoing debate over girls' education in Afghanistan. And let's not forget the return of Donald Trump and the potential impact of his policies on the global stage.
It's clear that we live in a world that's constantly evolving, with new challenges and opportunities emerging every day. But amidst all the complexity and uncertainty,
Right.
there's also a sense of interconnectedness.
Absolutely. The stories we've discussed today, though seemingly disparate, are all connected in some way. They reflect broader trends, tensions, and forces that are shaping our world. And by exploring these connections, we can gain a deeper understanding of the issues at play.
So as we wrap up, what's one key takeaway you'd like our listeners to ponder?
I'd encourage everyone to think critically about the information they consume. Don't just accept headlines at face value. Dig deeper, question your assumptions, and seek out diverse perspectives. The world is far more nuanced than what we often see on the surface.
That's great advice. It's easy to get caught up in the whirlwind of news, but it's crucial to step back and analyze the information we're receiving. So, as we sign off, I'd like to echo that sentiment. Stay curious, stay engaged, and most importantly, stay informed. Thank you for listening to today's top news headlines on IAMC Radio and Podcast.